this year was a revival of the national language, which is phenomenally great. The year has always belonged to Arijit. In fact, the last decade may have belonged to Arijit, in my view, right? I don't think the year belonged to on the indie space to any one particular artist. Arijit Singh of the indie world is truly someone like an Anup Jain. I mean,
Yes.
the year belonged to him as much as it belonged to Shubh and belonged to everybody else. There is songs like Pasoori are, and you're right. I think the big crossover is hugely missing. Bhojpuri is the number one language on YouTube. I think the world is certainly ready for a superstar out of India. The world has been ready for composers out of India. The sheer sophistication of recording quality, production, and the experimentation with sounds from all across is a lot more dominant in the South, guys. And I really want to send this out as a message to every artist that in the US or the UK, it's about the songs. 99% of songs are not written by the artist. Your song is the North Star. It's not about you writing the song. आपके पास Instagram है, आपके पास गिटार है, आप चार सुर गा सकते हो तो आप गा लिए. That is not what indie is. Indie is about people who are dedicated to art. 70 lakhs or a crore for a track. The costs, particularly in the Punjabi world of Punjabi music, have become irrelevantly large.
Mandar Thakur, welcome to CNN News 18.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mandar sir, you're the CEO of Times Music, which is one of India's leading music entertainment company, a reputed record label, which also manages some of the biggest talent. As the year is coming to end, I really want to ask you how good was the year 2023 for the music, for both indie and film music for you?
Right. So, firstly, thank you for having me on the show. Very privileged to be here. In terms of how was 2023 for the music industry, financially, I think we'll all know this in March when the fiscal ends. But at a broad level, if you look at it creatively and also part financially, you'll understand that this year was a revival of sorts for many things, right? It's not that indie music is new. It's not that Bollywood is new. It's not that Punjabi music is new. It's just that I think everybody was in some level of a creative conundrum where creativity was on repeat. Everybody was trying to do mixes, everybody was trying to do cover versions. And the one significant thing that came out was a certain sense of originality, right? That originality revived the entire nation's film industry, which is Bollywood. But within that subset, what also happened was that you had a lot of non-film music. So I'll break this up into three. One is Bollywood OST music, which obviously hit after hit after hit, not only of the music, but also of the movies itself. The second is non-film music, which is pretty much mainstream pop music. So there you had hits like Hiri and a whole bunch of things, and Times Music had some of those as well. But that sort of helped revive what I would call the Hindi pop industry beyond just the Punjabi industry, right? Because pop and non-film was so relegated to Punjabi music that now today, this is the revival of the national language, which is phenomenally great. And the third thing is new talent in the form of independent music. That I think came to some sort of a maturity this year because indie music, in its truest avatar, is known as really it's new music and younger musicians who are not signed to major record labels. I think in India, the term indie had become a bit of a calling card for anybody who could just get up and sing. And I think you saw this year separate the
Anything which is
wheat from the chaff.
non-film, anything which is non-film is called indie.
Yeah, and it became a calling card. यार आपके पास Instagram है, आपके पास गिटार है, आप चार सुर गा सकते हो तो आप गा लिए. That is not what indie is. Indie is about people who are dedicated, who want to commit their lives to art. And I think this year saw the separation of that. Some phenomenal performers came in. Times Music launched, well, not in 23, but in 22, 23 FFS,
Yes.
which was our own, effort. But we don't call it indie as much as we call that the next generation of music. And I think we've seen some phenomenal, really phenomenal talent come by. But the biggest significant move has been two things. One is that this industry is turned into an artist first industry, um, as opposed to being a song first industry. That was our legacy, that was our culture. And we've truly moved to an artist first industry where people are fans of the artist. The second thing is that the music industry has moved out of the shadow of the film industry. It did that in bits and pieces over the last few
I
years, but
have
this
that
year
a question for
truly,
that because I'm sorry to cut you that, but
sure.
even today, while you're saying is right, but a large consumption of music has been from Bollywood.
Yes.
Well, we are talking about the year that was for the music. So let's straight away jump to the songs. I really feel like I really looked at some of the charts. I think there were many songs which stood out, starting from Besharam Rang, Tere Vaste from Zara Hatke Zara Bachke, Tum Kya Mile and Jhumka Gira Re from Rocky Aur Rani,
Yeah.
Chalya from Jawan, and the song which crashed everyone's parties, Arjun Veli, which is topping the charts, be it in South India or in the West or in the North, is Arjun Veli. Which song do you consider are the year defining songs for you, sir?
I I think year-defining songs when they mentioned that, and which is precisely what I was saying earlier, is that there has been a move out of the shadow of Bollywood, right, to a culture of fans and super fans, and not to a consumer culture. So when you talk about Bollywood, you're talking about almost as an FMCG product. Everyone consumes it. So when you say what was the defining song, it when I say that non-film has grown, it doesn't really mean that Bollywood has degrown. It just means that the pie has gotten bigger. So when Bollywood got revived with some of the songs that you mentioned, if you look at who was singing them and who was composing them, you'd figure out that some of these are some of the finest non-film musicians, composers, and singers of our time as well, right? So I would call it that Bollywood and the non-film industry are pretty much one and the same. Bollywood has never been a genre, correct? It's really been pop music on a wide canvas in a film. That's all there is to it. It is pop music. So towards that extent, when you had songs like Hiriye, you had other kinds of songs, you had a phenomenal level of Punjabi pop. I would think that the songs that stand out will always be the songs that go cut wide, correct? Tier one, tier two, tier three, tier four. But what you have to understand in genres or the music or the film business, or you take it one step further, that a division between theatrical and OTT, a hit today in purely financial terms is how much money you've recovered because cost of content has skyrocketed through the roof, right? But if you talk about consumer acceptance, it'll always be film, now followed by a rising tide of non-film music.
So then let's get down to the artist of the year. I feel the year belonged to Arijit Singh and the film space, and because with songs like Chalya and Tum Kya Mile and Tere Vaste and Hiriye, and from indie space it's Shubh. Correct to say he really stood out
Um,
this year.
no, I would disagree. Arijit, yes, I mean that is a no-brainer there, right? I mean, Arijit has always the year has always belonged to Arijit. In fact, the last decade may have belonged to Arijit, in my view, right? Because the man's versatility, his level of class training, the ability to deliver words in any format, any language, any emotion is simply stunning, right? But when you say the year belonged to a particular artist, I don't think the year belonged to on the indie space to any one particular artist. It certainly did belong to a bunch of artists, and Shubh being a very large part of it. I think people like Shubh have made a really good statement. I think what Shubh has managed to do is craft a new sound all by himself with a message that he's trying to put out. And that's when I said in my first time around that this is an artist centric world. If you consider Shubh sound, it's not necessarily mainstream by any standard. People are fans of the man, people are fans of the talent. And that's really what they're following through, right? And hence the songs resonate. But so has the year belonged to, Anup Jain, so
Hiriye.
has the year belonged to Fo, so has the year belonged to so many brilliant artists, right? So I really think that it's indie is not about one artist. That's for dead sure. I think it's about a bunch of talented performers. There are some in the hip hop space, in the English song singer songwriter space. There is When Chai Met Toast. There is Arya. In the Hindi space, I think the Arijit Singh of the indie world is truly someone like an Anup Jain. I mean,
Yes.
the year belonged to him as much as it belonged to Shubh and belonged to everybody else there is.
Totally, totally. Also, we haven't experienced that big crossover song this year, like Pasoori, which was last year. Agree to say?
Yeah. I think, look, songs like Pasoori are, and you're right. I think the big crossover is hugely missing. I think songs like Pasoori are outliers. They happen once in a magical moment, and then something just flares that up. And I miss that. I wish there were more of those.
Although Shubh songs were topping the charts even in Pakistan, if you know. if you look at some of the charts there.
Yeah.
But
Well, the difference is, and I hope they don't only top in just South Asia. I just hope Shubh songs pick up in the rest of the world too, because I really think that the world is ready for I've said that before in mainstream media, I've said that to the Wall Street Journal, I've said it to a whole bunch of people. I think the world is certainly ready for a superstar out of India. The world has been ready for composers out of India. But I think the one primary thing that we realize, it's not about the diaspora. When you talk about diaspora, it's about the film bit. But today, I mean, the world is truly flat. I mean, if you've got Koreans, you've got Japanese, you've got Mexican, you got Latin revolutions that have happened. There is no rhyme or reason why anything shouldn't in Hindi or any other language for that matter. And you're seeing bits and pieces of that happening in. I certainly hope, we're all working towards that.
Diljit Dosanjh is performing at Coachella. That's the biggest thing for indie music. But sir, you of course have a huge presence in South India. Looking at Anirudh Ravichandra's filmography and just the way his songs stood out this year, be it the sound production or the very international quality of his song, do you think music composers are experimenting a lot with the sound, especially in South India, in Tamil cinema? It started, of course, with A.R. Rahman.
I I certainly think so. It's just not Tamil; it's also Telugu. Um, it started with A.R. Rahman. It started with Sandeep Chauta, who's a dear friend, and it's that trajectory has continued. You've got brilliant names like Santosh Narayan. You've got the indomitable Taman there. You also have, of course, so many people. Beams is the new guy there. There's an endless trajectory, and Times Music's film music OST brand, Jungly Music, is very active. We're one of the largest buyers of films in Telugu cinema, and are entering the Tamil market heavily as well. And the one thing that stands out is that the sheer sophistication of recording quality, production, and the experimentation with sounds from all across is a lot more dominant in the South, guys. What has happened with Hindi is, I think there's been a slight level of dumbing down of Hindi to basically a 4 bar song with the same 4 letters, going back and forth. You're seeing that in Punjabi music too, which is also one of the reasons that I'm actually very glad that people like AP or Shubh are really doing well, because what was Punjabi music? After a point of time, it was, a couple of words like Sonia Mundia just repeated again and again. And people have to grow up. We're not an audience that is dumb. The wider variety you give an audience, the wider experimentation you do, the better it gets. And I think the one good thing about the composers in the South is the fact that their level of experimentation just doesn't come down. And I think I see a lot of people here in Bollywood do that as well. I mean, if you look at someone like an Amit Trivedi, he truly, and these are his own words, he truly is a director's composer when it comes to film, because the canvas that he paints on is very, very wide. Yeah, sure, you have the commercial guys as well, but then, what is commerce, right? It's about a sound that keeps changing year on year, with trends that keep changing. And I really wish that we have more Hindi composers that take risks in a mainstream way, not just trying to be that niche that you suddenly have jazz music in a Bollywood film, but risks in a broad sense.
Let's talk about then Punjabi music. The year was, of course, AP Dillon in the beginning with his song With You, then came Shubh with Checks and Still Rolling, and Karan Aujla with his songs like Softly, and then Diljit Dosanjh with songs like Kes Chalda and Hassas. Correct to say, Diljit is one singer who's really pushing the boundaries. He's just upping the ante, especially with his collaboration with Sia.
I would, to me, upping the ante is about a hit. It's about a song. It's not about the effort that goes in. But having said that, I like Diljit. I'm a fan of Diljit. But I have to say that I like a set of songs that he had done before, Black and White, Proper Patola, a whole bunch of those songs, because that resonated. And I think a lot of performers are obviously looking to mainstreamize and internationalize their sound, because what works here is not going to work there. I mean, it may work for a diaspora audience. So I think Diljit is doing the right thing. There have been experimentations in the past with Bacha and a whole bunch of other people. But honestly, right, this is not about getting two names in a room, and that frustrates me to no end. This is really about the writing. This is about really getting the song right as opposed to getting the names right. Right. I mean, you've had collaborations in the past. You had Pitbull and Guru Randhawa, and you had so many people. You had Akon singing in the Bollywood film.
Yeah.
All of these are great indicators. All of these are wonderful things. Like the West is open to so much of collaboration, and I think those are going to be the name of the game going forward. But I'll repeat this again, and that's this is really about finding the right songs, because in the US or the UK, it's about the songs. 99% of songs are not written by the artist. And I really want to send this out as a message to every artist that your song is the North Star. It's not about you writing the song. You're the performer. If you write the song, great. But unless the song is obsessed over, it ain't gonna happen. And Times Music's joint venture with Primary Wave, our relationship, our entire goal is to be able to do that, which is specifically why this whole joint venture with Primary Wave, which, as you may know, is the world's leading independent publisher of some of the most iconic music in the world. We're going to be focusing on that very, very heavily going forward.
So then let's also not forget and talk about Bhojpuri songs. If you look at the
Yes.
charts at YouTube, you'll find two or three songs in the top 10 list. How
Yeah.
surprised are you, or do you think a lot of potential in the Bhojpuri music as well?
I'm not surprised at all. I don't think this is about music. Bhojpuri is the number one language on YouTube. And when you look at the entire belt, right, this is about sheer entertainment, right? You're talking about, and you will realize that when Geo was breaking through about 4 years, 5 years back, YouTube had a massive rise, and when that happened, the topography and geography of the location where a maximum amount of pickup for data, handsets, everything, and on the back of which YouTube jumped up was that region. It's no surprise at all that Bhojpuri is the number one language, because the sheer level of consumption is just growing and growing. Now, does that mean that it's great quality music? Does it mean, in to me, a Haryanvi language is more of a crossover into a mainstream language after Punjabi, and Bhojpuri has its own audience, and I think that is brilliant by itself. But to me, Bhojpuri is really more about entertainment and entertainment values, and the way I see it is that there is the mass level Bhojpuri stuff, and now you're seeing a lot more, a lot of those artists sort of evolving into something better and growing with the audiences. Like Times Music is actually launching Ravi Kishan's comeback with a really large Bhojpuri film, right? If you see things like that, those are really very classy. Otherwise, you're seeing a whole bunch of videos that are, let me just not name it. Everyone knows it, and then you have two or three top level artist, and the entire thing revolves around them. And I really hope that the industry matures out, we get more talent out of the region, that we can take to a national level, and that's really our aim.
And finally, what is the craziest demand that you have come across that was made by a singer when you went to record a song or sign him?
Like I said before, I think the crazies are many, right? I mean, most talent really, at the end of the day, really, it's about two things. It was about fame and it's about fortune. When it comes to fame, everybody wants. It's not a crazy demand to me. It's a crazy demand to the whole industry. I feel that a lot of times we come across talent and very well established ones who just say, "Hey, look, we should open my track. Arey, mera gana hai, bhai. It should open with a million, 10 million views." Right? There are people who, in many cases, just say, "This is the fee that I want." Now, whilst I'm a great believer of the willing buyer, willing seller system, there ain't no rack rate, it's art. But I just feel ki when you have somebody whose entire trajectory of works together have not done, let's say somebody's done, in revenue terms, only 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, and the next day, because you got some competitors willing to pay, somebody comes and asks you for like 70 lakhs or a crore for a track, and you go thinking, is this a business negotiation, or is this a artist that you're trying to sign up? And I'll be very upfront to you, the costs, particularly in the Punjabi world or Punjabi music, have become irrelevantly large. See, the movies have become larger, and there's a different reason to that, right? But the movies at least bring a canvas that is large. But I think in Punjabi music, some of these costs are untenable. You can ask anyone, any record label, freely, that if, just because you put your heart and soul into it, just because you paid a lot of money for it, it doesn't mean there are that many consumers who are just going to consume extra. So costs in the last 4 years, particularly in the Punjabi music genre, have gone up from a 12-25 lakh range all the way to 70 lakhs, 80 lakhs with absurd demands on time. And I think the other form of crazy is the undisciplinedness of a lot of talent, where what you have now are managements, right? And this goes to your early question. When an artist opens their own label, actually what some of them do is open their own YouTube channel more than own label. तो वही आर्टिस्ट के हर महीने अगर एक एक या दो गाने ड्रॉप हो रहे हैं, how is that even feasibly possible? So either you're insecure कि your lifespan is only 3 or 4 years, so you let me just scoop up as much as I can, or you're not very clear or strategic in your building of a career. But I can tell you the one thing that, again, the reason why artists like Shubh and AP have come up a lot and why they've started doing this on their own is for this very precise reasons. They do a drop occasionally. That drop is well thought of. That drop goes direct to the audience. Unlike a set of artists that were pretty big at one point of time, but who growing lesser and lesser in relevance, and everybody wants to make a quick buck. So yeah, I think the crazy is the level of money that's asked, and
That's a very good point you mentioned. Like you said, people are dropping new songs on their YouTube channel. Do you think
yeah.
that is why the role of an AR person or a music label become very important and relevant? Because it is said in the music industry, to be a good musician, you need to be a good Kansen to become a good Tansen.
Yeah.
And and like you said, then you need people like a label who have a good ear to identify a good hit that is worth spending your energies on. Right, sir?
I think, yeah, I get asked this question, asked that this is good music and a record label should pick it up. Firstly, that this is business, right? There is no should have, must have, should do, good do. I don't think record labels are here to promote good music. We are here to sign talented artists that we think can become stars. We sign movies that we think can cross over. Record labels are really the bridge between art and commerce. And I think that's what record labels bring to the table, just in terms of audiences, marketing, funds, budgeting, global scale distribution. But importantly, I think that in India, the role of record labels has pretty much been just as a financial thing, and that stems from our Bollywood legacy. Ki a producer comes to you, says, "Bhai ye gaane le lo, itne ke," and you end up buying all in one. So it's not the business structure that is wrong; it's our legacy. That's how it's been, and the business structure is adapted to it. So now when non-film music is coming in, you're seeing record labels invest significant sounds of money into signing artists and supporting them over the longer term.
Well, thank you. More power to you. Thank you so much for your time and Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year to you too, and thank you very much for having me here.